Minister charges up the EV rebates while his critics say taxpayers are being taken for a ride. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The top news stories
and conversations that matter to you.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
A new path forward for the Canadian auto sector is capping a busy week in Ottawa. Been plenty of reaction, not all of it glowing, to Prime Minister Carney's auto package announced yesterday. It's billions of dollars in new support for the Canadian auto sector, billions more to try and convince Canadians to buy EVs. Prime Minister Carney told reporters the measures are aimed at shoring up the domestic auto sector while his government continues to negotiate a deal with the United States.
What we're doing today is robust to whatever tariff outcome happens in that review. The scale of the investment through the strategic response fund support, through those series of tax measures support, providing a better charging infrastructure for Canadians, incentives for Canadians to develop, buy electric vehicles, as well as developing the entire supply chain from critical minerals through to batteries, all the way through to final vehicle assembly, including the IT components, the robotics, and the AI components of that. All of that is in the interests of a highly, highly competitive Canadian auto sector, irrespective of the outcome of those tariff discussions with the United States.
Even though the Prime Minister made this announcement in Vaughan, Ontario, just north of Toronto, the Premier of Ontario wasn't there. Doug Ford has made it known he's not happy that made-in-China EVs will be sold in Canada, but nevertheless, he endorsed Prime Minister Carney's plan yesterday during some brief remarks at Humber College in Toronto.
We need to make our auto sector more competitive. We need to attract new investments to build more vehicles in Canada. And we need to create good-paying auto jobs on factory floors across the province. With this in mind, I'm pleased to welcome and support the federal government's new auto strategy. We have been urging the federal government to end their electric vehicle mandate, which makes our auto sector less competitive, undermines investments, and threatens jobs. Of course, we continue to support the manufacturing of electric vehicles right here in Ontario.
Some found it odd that Premier Ford wasn't at the Prime Minister's announcement. Mark Carney was asked about that and suggested don't read too much into it.
The Premier will speak for himself. We've been spending a lot of quality time together, the Premier and I, recently, whether it's at lunch or discussions at his home on a number of issues, including very much this issue in preparation for today's announcement. We spoke at length yesterday, the Premier and I. We saw each other the day before. A lot of time for the Premier, but there's only so much time I want to spend with the Premier of Ontario. No, just kidding.
Under the Prime Minister's plan, the EV sales mandate of the Trudeau era is gone, replaced by a return of EV rebates up to $5,000 for fully electric vehicles, up to $2,500 for plug-in hybrids. The goal under the plan is to have 75% of new vehicles sold in Canada be EVs in less than 10 years from now. And in less than 15 years from now, 90% of all the vehicles be EVs. It's between 9 and 11% right now, and sales of EVs have been falling lately. The Conservatives aren't crazy about the new plan. They say so few EVs are built in Canada that the new plan amounts to Canadians subsidizing the U.S. auto sector. This is Conservative MP Raquel Dancho.
Instead of securing the trade agreement Canadians were promised by Prime Minister Carney by July 21st, 2025, to protect Canadian auto workers and other manufacturing jobs, the government is asking taxpayers today to subsidize foreign-made EVs. This announcement comes after 5,000 Canadian auto sector jobs have been lost, including, among others, 3,000 at Stellantis, 500 at GM's Oshawa plant, and 725 at Picard. And I will say that while the government's announcement for worker support programs is welcome, and however well-intentioned, it does not create new Canadian jobs, and it does not fix the underlying problem. Canada's auto legacy deserves policies that strengthen our domestic production. Today does not do that.
Kyle Seaback is a Conservative MP from Ontario. He, too, thinks this new strategy will help the U.S. auto sector more than the Canadian auto sector.
The vast majority of EVs bought in Canada are made in the United States. There are very few made here in Canada. In fact, over the entire lifespan of manufacturing EVs in Canada, we've manufactured 40,000, and we produce around 1.3 million vehicles a year. This is going to be another blow for Canadian auto workers, in addition to the 50,000 Chinese EVs that are coming in. This announcement is not for Canadian auto workers.
Green Party leader Elizabeth May has mixed feelings. She likes that the EV rebates are coming back, but laments the demise of the EV sales mandate.
I definitely am pleased to see the rebate back in place to encourage and assist Canadians who want to have an electric vehicle, or at least to have a vehicle with that potential. Hybrid, plug-in cars are really the combination of electricity and a hybrid make it really possible for Canadians, even if you can't get to a high-speed charger, to have a car that's running carbon-free. It certainly is disappointing, though, to see the EV mandate dropped, and one would have to look very closely at what the Prime Minister has said in terms of using the old-fashioned and I think very valuable tools of regulation under the corporate average fuel economy standards, which are regulated through the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. He said he'll double the ambition on reducing greenhouse gases in a range of cars, including cars with internal combustion engines.
The EV rebates will only be available for vehicles with a sticker price of less than $50,000. They will only apply to vehicles made in Canada or in a country that has a free trade agreement with Canada. They don't apply to made in China EVs. And those rebates will be reduced every year. The $5,000 rebate, for example, will fall to just $2,000 by the year 2030. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
He's our expert in communications, crisis communications, political communications, branding, and leadership. Barry McLoughlin is the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants, offices in Ottawa and Washington, D.C. Barry teaches at the University of Ottawa's Professional Development Institute and at Cape Breton University's Shannon School of Business. You can follow Barry on his Substack, listen to his podcast, and he's with us every Friday. How are you this week?
I'm doing fine, Rob. How about you?
Yeah, very good. I am wrapped up in election speculation, however. I'd like to get your take on this. There were two polls released this week. One had the Liberals at 47%, and another one had the Liberals at 51%. So the Liberals are riding high since the Prime Minister went to Davos, gave the speech. These are, let's face it, they're some of the highest polling numbers seen in recent decades for a political party. I think you'd have to go back to Mulrooney 84 to see things like this. Carney, on a personal level with Canadians, seems much more popular than Poilievre. The NDP doesn't even have a leader right now. Seems to me the perfect time to call an election if you're the Liberals and try for that majority government. But how would the Prime Minister explain that to voters?
Yeah, that would be a tough one. I first of all, about polls, I mean, yes, it's a snapshot in time. That's what it is. If you had a consistent pattern hitting 50%, then you know where the country has shifted. But, you know, we still have a budget to get through. There's a next budget that's got to get in there. The people want to see some progress on the file with the Americans. And right now, there's not a lot of sign of that. So the big things are up in the air. And so that on that alone, I would have some problem in saying, yeah, go for the election. I think people are in a mood. They're uncertain, and they don't need one more uncertainty in them. He has a chance. He has a runway. If he gets defeated in the House, there's going to be one. Yes, he can engineer that. That's true. But I think a lot of them, you know, when you go early, like I remember David Peterson, he was in as premier of the province for 3 years. He saw an opportunity. He jumped in and had his hat handed to him in the election, never got back in. You can make a big mistake. So they also have a new campaign manager, Steve Outhouse, who really knows his stuff. You're already
The
seeing
conservatives do. Yeah, the conservatives
do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're making a shift somewhat in tone for Mr. Poilievre. Maybe they'll have a smart campaign this time. They did not last time. They, I think, have got rid of the team that was sort of behind that. You're not entirely sure of that. But we also want to know where he does stand with Mr. Trump. So he has his own things to carve out. He shouldn't be running into one either. I don't think Conservatives want one, which, again, is a temptation for Mr. Carney. But I would not take the temptation. I think he needs to get some under his belt. He needs to demonstrate not just spending promises, but the action is underway.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, Barry, but I also listen to what they're saying. We need the conservatives to get out of the way. We need the conservatives to stop blocking us. We could get so much more done for Canadians if it weren't for the conservatives. And I understand that conservatives maybe don't want to go to an election right now because they're willing to fast track this GST rebrand into the groceries and essentials benefit, right? Yep. But on the backlash, just let me pick your brain on this backlash, because why are we having an unnecessary election? We just had an election last year. You could see that coming.
Oh, definitely.
But it didn't hurt Doug Ford in Ontario when he called a snap election. It didn't hurt Premier Houston in Nova Scotia when he won an election. They both won big majority governments.
Yeah, there's no guarantees. He did not have a strong opposition, Mr. Ford, really. He knew there's a window there. I don't have a strong opposition at this point. I think Bonnie Crombie had just got in or something, was just a real rapid turnaround, made the urgency. He made the urgency case, and it seemed to work. But I think people on the national level, I don't think they're really ready for that. Obviously, if he got defeated because he doesn't have a majority, I remember Stephen Harper, he directly said to me, heading up a minority government is you have your suitcase packed in the front hall every night. You are worried constantly. There's no question about it. It is tempting. If they had two more four-crossers, they'd be in business. They do have several by-elections that they've got to oversee. So I just don't see it happening. But maybe I'm wrong. Of course, they're going to position themselves against the Tories. The Tories are standing in the way of this great. They have to have that. They've got to have the two sides of the coin. You can't just offer one. And so he's reminding Canadians of what he's stood up against, Mr. Poilievre. So I think that's a good strategy. It works in the House. It works, on this, out across the country. But in the end, though, we want to, is Mr. Poilievre positioning himself as the next Prime Minister of Canada? Well, not yet. He's trying to get there, but he doesn't position himself that way. He's a great attacker. So it is still tempting. I can't say definitively it won't happen, but my gut instinct says no, unless his hand is forced. I think he will stay the course at least for one more year. Most of these last about 2 years.
When we come back, we'll get you ready for one aspect of Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl ads with Barry McLoughlin from TLC Transformational Leadership Consultants. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
With Barry McLoughlin, the president of TLC Transformational Leadership Consultants. Well, let's talk branding ahead of a big day. Super Bowl Sunday means Super Bowl ads. Seems to me, Barry, they don't wait for the big game anymore. They want a week's worth of exposure, right? So all the ads are out all over social media, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's become an event. I think it was NBC ran a whole hour show on them. They become programming content. All of the morning shows show them. They're multi-million-dollar investments now, not just in terms of the up to $10 million to buy time, but millions of dollars to produce them. So they're very expensive. And if you just had 30 seconds in the Super Bowl, that's not enough. You got to really milk that. And so they're doing a tremendous amount of that.
All right, let's play a few and get your thoughts. For Raisin Bran, featuring familiar to Canadians, Will Schatt.
Will Schatt here, bringing fiber to the masses with Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Duty calls.
Will Schatt?
Every darn day.
Whoa.
Will Schatt in the house. It's fiber time. Is that dog a Shih Tzu? Perfect.
Will Schatt on the car!
You're too old for this shit.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran. High fiber, happy gut.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's clever. Many clever plays on words there. Kellogg's Raisin Bran featuring William Shatner as Will Shat, but
yeah,
it's memorable too. But I don't know, Barry. What do you think?
It was not good. It was a lot of action. He was a superhero. He was there, the deck of the USS Enterprise. He had a number of that, a whole bunch of things going in there. Way too many things. It's hard to follow it. Will Shat, there's even Dr. Shih Tzu, the dog. So it was like, are they playing on the word here? What? So they finally end with a tagline, high fiber, happy gut. Okay. But I don't think it sold anything. And I think the younger generation, Will Shat, you don't automatically connect the dots there. So I don't know. I should have used his full name, but I think it was it was way too much, and it didn't land in any way. All right. So to set this up, this is for Grubhub, which is like Skip the Dishes, one of these delivery companies, food delivery companies, big business, especially on Super Bowl Sunday, of course. And the scene is like a medieval feast. And George Clooney stars, and the ad is called The Feast, as in fees. It's all about the fees that people pay to use these apps. Let's roll that.
And for the final course, we have the fees.
Oh, no. Who will eat the fees?
I couldn't possibly stomach the fees.
I have a terrible fee allergy.
Who will eat the fees?
Grubhub will eat the fees.
Grubhub will eat the fees?
Grubhub will eat the fees.
Grubhub will eat the fees.
Yes, that's what I said.
No delivery fees, no service fees, no more fees on restaurant orders over 50.
Oh, it's pretty good. What do you think?
Well, it was amazing, actors in it, medieval feast, beautifully done. It took quite a while. Like, is this the feast we're talking about? Are we talking about graduate sort of fees? And then finally we see George Clooney come in. A long time to get to the point of the whole thing. It might land because Grubhub we don't know as well as DoorDash and various ones. So it's trying to stand out in the crowd. You connect George Clooney to anything and you'll probably do well with that, as they discover with Nespresso. So I think in the end, I would give it a B. It wasn't brilliant. It was kind of confusing on feast versus fees. But in the end, I think it did drive home finally at the end the message they wanted to get across of the no fees. So I think I'll have to give that a definite, a solid one, solid B.
All right. I wanted to play the Hellman's Mayo ad featuring Neil Diamond singing Sweet Sandwich Time, but people will have to watch the game if they can find that one.
It'd be worth
Enjoy
it.
the game. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you.
I will.
Yeah, I'll speak next week, Barry. Bye-bye. Barry McLoughlin from TLC Transformational Leadership Consultants. Tom Korski from Blacklock's Reporter, just ahead on News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
He's been minding Ottawa's business all week long. Tom Korski's back with us. He's the managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter. Welcome back.
Well, thank you, Rob.
Big news in the government town, Tom. Public servants will have to be back in the office 4 days a week starting in July. Now, look, you work downtown, right downtown Ottawa, Parliamentary Precinct, right around that area. Lots of government workers are supposed to be surrounding you. But what is it like just around there these days, Tom?
Oh, dead. Just brutal. Dead to the degree that's possible. I mean, it was never Las Vegas. But, in the day, Ottawa was the work-from-home capital of Canada. StatsCan actually did a figure on this. It was fascinating. If you've never been to Ottawa, they're literally block after block of gray or beige office towers that have no private sector employees. They're federal offices, and so you got it coming and gone. So you have completely empty buildings that were never sold or refed. And then a small business collapsed, and so all the, forgive my language, the street people would move in, and, Bank Street has been a disaster. Ottawa, 48% of the workforce in the heyday of the pandemic stayed at home, 48%. the figure in, for instance, Regina was 23%, Edmonton 28%. So it was like almost double other cities. Calgary, 34% work from home. Very, very many COVID furloughs, and here we are now, 6 years later, still an issue, Rob.
Oh, yeah, still an issue. Union's not happy. Rumblings of a strike because there's good collective bargaining happening right now. They might want to strike over this. I will say being in the office 4 days a week is how it used to be for most public servants in Ottawa. They negotiated that in the days before the pandemic. They had the option, if they wanted to work a compressed schedule. You know, Tom, Fridays before the pandemic, there was no traffic in Ottawa.
Rush hour, no problem.
There was no rush hour. There was no rush hour.
Very true. The problem, in my 2 cents, Rob, the feds, from the taxpayer's perspective, the feds mismanage this all. So if you're going to send people home, then get rid of the buildings. If you're going to change your work model, go ahead. But instead, they maintained these buildings. They were heating and cooling them, removing the snow. And we're talking about the biggest landlord in the country, the Department of Public Works or the Government of Canada. And they had all these people go from home who were then provided free office furniture. And then there was another charge. So it kept the empty buildings, equipped all these home offices for 48% of the Ottawa workforce, and now they want everyone to come back. Everything they did cost and cost and cost. There was no savings. There was no concept of saving.
It's incredible. Really incredible. Moving along. Heated yesterday at the Veterans Affairs Committee. Long meeting, like 6-hour meeting. And some opposition MPs were really upset with the Veterans Affairs Minister, Jill McKnight. What's going on?
I don't want to use unkind language. MPs have some serious questions about Minister McKnight's abilities. She is one of many to hold the office of Veterans Affairs. How many ministers have they had? We are looking at, she's the 8th minister in 6 years. What does that tell you? You couldn't run a food truck that way. And you would, even if you don't know any veterans, would want to sympathize and commiserate with their pain in dealing with Ms. McKnight. What were MPs upset about? Cabinet has said we're cutting 10% of the payroll, so help me. That means there must be cuts in Veterans Affairs where Veterans Complaint Service is already lousy, including Conservative MP Fraser Tolmie, former mayor of Moose Jaw, used to be an Air Force officer. He said, "I've been down that path where you."
Yeah, he went on a rant yesterday, Tom. Why don't we just wind him up and let him go? He had an epic rant yesterday. Let's listen to that. This is Conservative MP Fraser Tolmie.
Minister, I've heard, I don't know how many times today, stabilizing and modernizing. That's your slogan that you've been using. So are you telling me that presently things are unstable and antiquated?
No, what I'm saying is that we are investing in making the system enhanced and better so that we can ensure that veterans have timely access to supports and services.
Okay, because many of the veterans that I'm speaking to don't get timely service. They get denied, delayed, and then the term is they die because they've been dealing with VAC for so long. And prior to this meeting, I had a conversation, and I'm a vet that's been denied services. So I understand, and when I hear my colleagues from across the aisle say, oh, you know, about the transition and how nice it is for veterans, a lot of veterans, when they walk out the military, they don't know what they're going into. They don't get a service. They get a half day, a cup of coffee, and a cucumber sandwich, and told to go to a website and then figure it out on your own. That's what happens. So let's put any pretense that everything's great, and let's look at the problems that we're dealing with for veterans. Veterans are being ignored. And when they hear cuts are coming, and they're not even getting the services, the basic services that they require, what kind of emails do you think I'm getting? I'm absolutely furious right now because I feel like I've been reading a glossy book or a brochure that's telling us how wonderful things are, but we're not recognizing the problem that this machine is broken, Minister. The machine is broken, and you're not telling me how you're going to fix it. I've sat in a meeting with you before, and I've told you you're my 5th minister. You're the 9th minister in this department over 10 years that this government's been in power. I want to know what's going to happen. How are you going to fix it? Don't tell me you're going to stabilize and modernize. Tell me what you're going to do with these investments, with the reduction in the budget that you're putting towards this Veterans Affairs.
So again, that's Conservative MP Fraser Tolmie. We're going to stop here, Tom. I want some reaction from you on that. I have a few thoughts on just that committee yesterday. My impressions of what was said and other items as well. Veterans issues. When we come back, Tom Korski's with us from Blacklock's Reporter here on News Radio.
You have questions.
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
We are back with Tom Korski, managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. Let's just follow up a little bit on this Veterans Affairs Committee that never did get a straight answer out of this minister. Okay, the plan is to cut tens of thousands of public sector jobs. The departments are supposed to reduce their budgets by 10%. What does that mean for your department? There was never a clear answer on that, was there, Tom?
No, and it's pretty straightforward. I don't want to be unkind, Rob. Ms. McKnight's aptitude for cabinet is not obvious. She's never served in the military. She's never run anything the size of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Previous employment, former executive director, the Chamber of Commerce in Delta, BC. Good for her. But this is a job, and it has to get done, and I think taxpayers, veterans, and MPs are entitled to more than Ms. McKnight is able to provide. You know, Rob, Veterans Affairs, though, has been a place where you put the dead wood in cabinet for many, many, many years. They would never dream of doing this in the Department of Health or Employment or Social Development. I could go down the list. Agriculture, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No, but Veterans Affairs, who gives a damn? Let's be frank.
And that's not just with this government, Tom. That's just a government thing.
It's gone on for years.
Yeah. I will say, just watching a little bit of the meeting after reading your coverage, it was good to see Jody Middick yesterday at committee. Got to know Jody Middick a little bit when he was a city councillor in Ottawa, sniper in the armed forces, served in Afghanistan. I know he's had some problems. He's had some personal problems in the past. I would say to people, you would too if you went to Afghanistan and got your legs blown off by an IED. Understandable that he's had some problems, but he seems to be doing better. And he has this company, Green Army Coffee. Doesn't seem to be much help from Veterans Affairs trying to get that thing going. But what really strikes me, Tom, when you watch these committees and the witnesses, the veterans who are coming to this committee, they're young. These are not the veterans that you and I grew up with, Tom, who come to our schools and tell us about Remembrance Day. They're not the silver-haired veterans. These are young guys with their whole lives ahead of them. 30s, 40 years old, they're looking for a way, a path, some help, because they have their whole lives ahead of them. As I say, there's mountains of opportunity for these people, but one by one, they express their absolute frustration, if not dismay, at the service they're getting from this department.
Absolutely. There is an element here, and this is the striking part. You have to, even if you have a wooden heart, you'd have to say that's a special corner of hell to be in the position of being a medically released veteran and have to call the 1-800-DROP-DEAD number in Ottawa, or as MP Tolmie says, here's a cup of coffee, check out our website, when you are trying to apply for instance, a disability benefit. When you talk to people, and I know you have, Rob, this is typically a 1 to 2 year game to drive mice crazy. That's the Department of Veterans Affairs. They've known about it. They've been audited, they've been censured for it, and they've never gotten on top of it. And the reason is, I think, forgive my candor, I think individuals personalize failure. Those veterans say to themselves and their spouses, I must be doing something wrong.
That's right.
And it takes a long time to say, no, it's Jill McKnight doing it to you.
On to other things. Statistics Canada is updating its figures on how many Canadians live abroad. What's known?
It's fascinating. They have estimated 4 to 5 million. 4 to 5 million. There's no database that can anywhere in terms of benefit checks or even passport applications that can confirm the data. They tell the Senate this week they want to update their database to come up with their own figures ever since Parliament passed a law just last November that created 115,000 new citizens when they granted citizenship to the grandchildren of Canadians who live abroad. By the way, that 4 to 5 million, they can get old age security and they can vote. It's very relevant.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Let's wrap up on this. Who does the CEO of Farm Credit Canada, who does she really admire?
She was asked at a team meeting at the Farmers Bank in Regina, who do you consider your biggest role model and why? Asked a questioner. Why don't I quote her? I might surprise you with who I'm going to name, said Justine Hendricks. I've admired his courage, and you know how he stuck to his values. Believe it or not, it's Fidel Castro. And she went on to, apparently she hasn't been listening to the radio or reading the newspapers, she went on to praise Communist Party management of Cuba, especially agriculture and health care.
Isn't that something? Yeah. Must be a Trudeau appointee. $500,000 a year. She makes almost $500,000 a year to run Farm Credit Canada.
It's a living.
Oh, I suppose so. Great to hear from you, Tom. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, for Blacklock's reporter, Tom Korski. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now you know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Well, it's been a wild ride for financial markets all week. Big rally happening right now in stocks with the NASDAQ up 440 points right now. It was down hard yesterday, up about 2% today, and the Dow's up more than 1,000 points, up better than 2%. And Toronto's along for the ride. TSX up more than 300 points right now, gain of about 1% for the Canadian benchmark. Topsy-turvy for Bitcoin. Bitcoin fell to almost $60,000 US yesterday. It was down about 13% at one point. Gaining a lot of that back right now, though, and back above 70,000, 70,800 US, up $4,000 on the day. So a gain of 6% today. Been all over the place. Earlier this year, Bitcoin was trading near $97,000 US, and last October, it hit $126,000 US. But it is percentage-wise down for the week, down about 20% for the year, and down about 30% in the last 12 months. Gold is trying to get back to that 5,000 mark US an ounce. It is trading right now $19 shy of that, $49.81 US an ounce. It was about 5,300 though just a few weeks ago. Now here's a story that might be worth watching. The English language media didn't catch this story this week, but here's the question: is a Liberal MP about to evict a single mother from a Montreal area apartment? All outlined in a damning story in Journal de Montreal this week. The MP is Samir Zuberi, and he represents a riding on the island of Montreal. And along with his wife, he has owned a triplex in this riding, although the MP says he transferred his share of the building to his wife a few years ago. But a single mother, Tiffany Janot, has rented a unit in this triplex for the last 10 years. Since 2016, the MP and his wife bought this building in 2021. And Chanot says they've been trying to kick her out so they can raise the rent, which is what's known as a rent eviction. She claims the couple already tried to raise her rent more than is allowed under Quebec's rent guidelines. She challenged that at the housing tribunal and they backed down. And now she says they've changed tactics and claim you have to leave. So a relative can move in. You hear that all the time when it comes to rental disputes. We need you to leave so my mother or my cousin or my uncle can move in. The single mom pays $1,100 a month for this unit. She says when another tenant moved out of this triplex, they jacked up the rent by $600 a month. Journal de Montreal reached out to Zuberi's office, the Liberal MP, and his office says, I don't own the building, which is technically true. His wife owns the building, but it is certainly not a great look, is it, for a young member of parliament, a progressive liberal who was elected in part last April on a promise to deal with the housing affordability crisis. It's just one of those Quebec stories that hasn't really registered across the country just yet. I wonder if anyone's going to pick up on that. I'm Rob Snow. Talkback, Friday free-for-all Talkback is coming up right after the news. Have something you want to talk about? 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line. You can call right now. Love to hear from you. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today, it's the Friday free-for-all. So why don't you call right now? 1-833-668-2577. You call right now, I'll put you right on the air. We don't come up with topics on Fridays. We always have a few ready to go, conversation starters. But we always prefer to know what's on your mind. So what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? If you want to talk about something that's been in the news, there's always news, and there was certainly a lot of news this week. If you want to talk about something that you think should be in the news, you feel free to raise it here, whatever it happens to be. Serious, not so serious. Phone lines are open right now. All of them. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. And as always, if you've never called before, just mention that, and we will make your call a priority. We love to hear from first-time callers. Again, that number, 1-833-668-2577. Just a conversation starter, but I'd love to get your take on this story. Stealing groceries. Stealing groceries. There's this group in Montreal. They fancy themselves to be modern-day Robin Hoods. And this week, about 60 of them, they're wearing little hats, Robin Hood hats, and masks. They stormed into a grocery store in Montreal and they ransacked the place and they made off with thousands of dollars worth of groceries. They claim they are delivering these groceries to various charitable food pantries, food cupboards across Montreal. They leave them outside various social housing locations across the city, to help the needy. And this week, they went so far as to issue a statement saying they're stealing from the thieves. Quote, when having two jobs is not enough to eat or have a roof over your head and take care of your family, every means becomes legitimate. We decide to resist against a corrupted system, and we encourage others that are just as tired as us to do the same. Quote, CEOs continue to profit on our backs and the rest of the population struggles to eat. And they video themselves while they do this with their phones and they put it up on social media. And when they do that, they get thousands of likes. A lot of people, it seems, on social media, they have no problem with this. They cheer it on. They endorse it. What do you think about that? The same group was doing this around Christmas time, going in, robbing grocery stores in the Montreal area, stealing food, dressed up as Santa and his elves in one of the robberies. They made off with about $5,000 worth of stuff. And some people, not all people, but some people are saying on social media, bravo, good for you, stick it to the man. It's not like these greedy corporations are going to miss a few $1,000s worth of groceries. What do you think? What do you think of these modern day Robin Hood wannabes? Heroes or bandits? Along similar lines here in the Ottawa area, the local police, the Ottawa police, are getting a lot of grief on social media because they had a special operation to target people who shoplift groceries from a grocery store in downtown Ottawa. I used to go to this particular grocery store all the time. According to the police, shoplifters hit that place, this one grocery store, 650 times last year, like 2 times a day. So the police had this elaborate undercover sting operation. They dubbed it Project Pantry, and they caught 12 people over a few days. And they're facing almost 80 charges for stealing food from the grocery store. And now people are all over social media, and they're slamming the cops, calling it's a waste of police resources, and they should be going after the real bad guys and not people who have to steal food from grocery stores. The police say, well, actually, a lot of these people are stealing the most expensive things in the grocery stores, meats, cheeses, and then they sell them so they can buy drugs. But there was a big write-up in our paper, the Ottawa Citizen, about how misguided this is. The police shouldn't be doing this, going after these people. They're just stealing food from the grocery store. They wouldn't do that if food was affordable. Let me ask you this. We talked about sky-high food prices earlier in the week. What do you do with people who steal food from the grocery store? Do you arrest them? Do you charge them? Do you drag them through the criminal justice system? Or, as some people are doing, do you cheer them on? Because more than a few people on social media, I notice, are saying it's the CEOs of these grocery stores who should be in handcuffs. 1-833-668-2577. Let's get to Wayne. Why don't we take Wayne's call? Wayne's in Halifax. Hello, Wayne.
Good day, sir. How are you?
Very good, Wayne. What's on your mind today?
Do you remember when Stephen Harper was in office and down here in Nova Scotia up and towards Cape Breton, he was closing down all these Veterans Affairs offices?
Yes, I do remember that. He got a lot of grief. He got a lot of grief for it.
You got that right. And as far as I'm concerned, he should have been shot in Keelhaul, seeing how I'm ex-Navy. I wouldn't
defend that opinion, sir.
He said in one of these speeches he gave to the veterans on TV that any veteran can walk into Service Canada and get help with their claim. And that was nothing but BS, because the right hand don't talk to the left hand and the left hand don't talk to the right hand. I've been dealing with veterans advocate work for 34 years. And how I know it's been 34 years, I had a service widow ask me a question about our military life insurance, and 2 years going back and forth dealing with her and trying to help her out. I never got the answer for her, so I married her. But anyway, I still don't. By the way, I'm now married to her for 34 years, and I still don't have the answer for her. That system dealing with Veterans Affairs is so massive and so complicated. I'll tell you right now, if you could see my laptop, I have about, I'm guessing, between 20 and 30 acts of parliament sitting on my computer that I read all throughout the year. When somebody asks me a question, I start researching it and try to get the answer for them.
Yeah. I'm not here to defend I'm not here to defend Mr. Harper and his decision to close those Veterans Affairs offices. Certainly, I think if he had a do-over, he wouldn't do it because of the political grief that it caused his government. Stephen Harper hasn't been the Prime Minister of Canada in more than 11 years, and you're still calling and complaining about that. It's been a Liberal government for the last decade. And over that time, there have been 9 ministers of Veterans Affairs. How can you possibly reform something when at the very top, it's been a revolving door? Every year, there's somebody new calling the shots.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. But the problem is when you're dealing with a veteran that has a combination of a lot of physical injuries and then they're manifesting into mental health. So you got guys that got mental health problems and you got physical health problems, and it's all mashed together. To sit down with a veteran and say, this is the paperwork you got to do, and he looks at you and says, I can't do that paperwork. So what ends up happening is what I end up doing is getting their wife involved or a family member, and it's the family member or the wife that does the paper trail.
Very good. Thank you, Wayne. For your call, thank you for your service to the country and your ongoing service to veterans, sir. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Well, it's not just any talkback. It's a Friday free-for-all talkback. So you can take the lead today. Just pick a topic. We'll do our best to roll with it. Eric is in Halifax. Thanks for calling, Eric. You're on the line.
Yeah, how you doing today, Rob?
Yeah, very good, Eric. How are you doing?
Go Seattle, go.
Go Seattle, go.
The reason why I'm going with Seattle, because the team that they're playing against knocked off our team, the Denver Broncos.
Right.
So that's the reason why I'm going with, and also the defense for Seattle is a lot better than the defense for the New England Patriots.
Okay.
And
now let me ask you right now, the odds makers have it Seattle by 4.5 points. I don't even think it's going to be that close. I think I'm predicting a rout. I think Seattle is just going to walk all over New England. I'm predicting something like, I'm going to say 30-3 for Seattle.
Well, I'm going 17-10 for Seattle. I think the young fellows, he's prone to make mistakes, but I think that he did good by getting to the promised land. So I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I can't see a 30-3 score. I really not. I mean, first of all, the San Francisco people are going to be upset because Seattle took San Francisco to the cleaners. So I don't know. It's going to be 50-50, but I can't see 30-3. I'd be shocked out of my system if they win 30-3. I really would.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Well, like I said, I mean, the teams are so identical. You know, I mean, you look at all the stats over, and how they got there. The only stat that's different is the points against. New England allowed 320. Seattle had 292. So that's the only difference. I mean, I just can't see them 30-3. Only, geez, I can't see that, Rob. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, call me next week and we'll see who's more accurate with their predictions. But I don't think it's going to be close. Seattle. Thank you, Eric. Seattle's the favorite to defeat New England on Super Bowl Sunday. 4.5 points. Most of the odds makers had the money line listed. Seattle minus 200. New England, the underdog, plus 170. Over under 45.5. Weather will not be a factor. Santa Clara, California, mix of sun and cloud, high of 18 with a light wind, and kickoff 6:30 Eastern time. Who's up next? Joe is up next in Nova Scotia. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Hey, very good, Joe. Thank you. What's on your mind?
I'm looking at a snowbank that's 6 feet high, so it's nice to be talking to Mr. Snow.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's like you're looking out my window. You know, we're on the air in Calgary right now. It was almost 20 degrees there yesterday. It's going up to 15 or 16
That's
today.
Crazy.
Yeah, jealous.
They got the Chinooks coming in, so.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I just wanted to talk to you about hearing Buck Martinez retired from doing his broadcasts with the Jays, and man, that's a sad thing. Buck's they call him the general or the governor, sorry, of Rogerson, and I used to call it the Sky Dome.
That's okay.
But he's just such a legend, and I don't know if you've ever seen this before, Rob, but there's a play. He gets run over at, he played catcher.
Yes.
So
He gets bowled right over. I have seen that.
Right
yes.
over. Crushes his leg underneath him. And then the way baseball gets played out, like there's no timeouts or anything for that. So he tries to throw the runner out at third base, and then still on his broken ankle, he catches the ball and tags the guy out that's coming home from third. Like double play out with a broken ankle. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But anyway,
like his time, his playing career was kind of at an end when I was growing up watching baseball. I really do know him more
85.
as more of a broadcaster, and he had such a, and maybe because he was a catcher, he had such incredible insight into, this is the pitch they should call. And, you remember during the World Series when Kirk went out to the mound and, this is the perfect thing for Kirk to be doing to calm the pitcher down, and calmed him right down. I think it was Savage that was on the mound at the time. And then there was followed by a strikeout. Like he was able to, give you kind of the inside story of the game and what the players are really thinking. Great color commentator, and but a well-deserved retirement. And I'm sure everyone will join me in wishing Buck Martinez the best in his golden years as he leaves Sportsnet and the Toronto Blue Jays broadcast behind after a very memorable season. That news coming from Sportsnet today. Thank you for your call. Lots of time to fit you in here. 1-833-668-2577. Friday free for all Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Back to Halifax we go today on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Let's check in with Wally. Hi, Wally.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, very good, Wally. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Good. I just thought I would share. My daughter bought a 2024 Dodge Hornet, and it's a hybrid. And we live in an apartment, and we've had an incredibly difficult time trying to find a way to reliably charge that car. So all the apartment dwellers that are out there, which is a considerable number, they're going to have a difficult time when we finally decide to go and push the hybrids or electric cars. Apartment dwellers, they don't have access. If you live in a high-rise or even us just in a 4-story building, you don't have access to outside plugs to be able to plug these in. It's just the infrastructure is just not there, and I don't foresee the literal thousands upon thousands or tens of thousands of people being able to plug in a hybrid car.
Okay. So what is the issue? So what kind of apartment is this? Is it a high rise? Is it in a high rise?
No, we have they're 2-bedroom, 2-level units, but it's only a 4-story building. But at the same time, there's no way to run a cord. You can plug in a hybrid into a regular outlet. That's no problem. But you can't run a 300-foot cord. And if I was on the 7th floor, there's and the infrastructure with all of the older apartment buildings that are out there, there's no way to be able to get from your own unit. There's no way to be able to get reliable power to a hybrid car. And the car itself, the electronics of it, if you don't charge it regularly, if you operated it just on combustion, you're going to have an issue because the electronics are saying charge the battery, condition the battery. So there are,
see.
there are issues that are going to come up mechanically or electronically with that car if you don't charge the battery the way that it's, meant to be charged on a
Gotcha.
regular interval.
So other than that, how does she like the new car?
She loves it. It's a second Hornet, so she loves it. It's a great vehicle. So.
Interesting.
But anyways, I just
they're a
thought I'd
sharp
share
little car. All right. Got to run. Thank you. Yeah, EVs, that was a hot topic yesterday. If you want to jump right back into that one. We had jam phone lines yesterday on that one. Couldn't fit everybody in. 1-833-668-2577. Friday free-for-all Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, it's the Friday free-for-all Talkback. You take the lead if you want, or if you want to comment on something we've already raised, by all means. 1-833-668-2577 to Waterloo for the first time today. Steve is there. Hi, Steve.
Actually, I called before. Anyway, okay, so I got this news and all this from the west of Canada. A lady by the name of Frances Widdowson is taking the lead in charge about this. And she questions the... Now, this is difficult because it's a very, very sensitive subject. She's questioning how
what is it? Spit it out.
215 unmarked graves out west in Kamloops. And you still there? Okay. Oh?
Yeah, I'm right here, Steve. Yeah. All right, Steve.
Okay. And, she's been studying the situation.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed is that I find that a lot of media outlets don't want to touch this story. And it's been going on for about 4 or 5 years now. And
Right.
Frances she's...
Right. Well, why are you
to the
interested
bottom
in
of-
it? Why are you
Why am
interested
I?
in it?
Well, why am I is because, she has sort of phrased and coined the situation with the natives as an industry of reconciliation, not just reconciliation.
Right.
So I'm interested to know, to see how this really unfolds, and because there is such a heavy, this is too serious for the natives that we know, and it's very touchy. But I want to find out what if this is true or not.
Sure, a lot of people do. Yeah,
and
I'm sure the people who live there do as well. Right.
Yes, indeed, and I sympathize with them, and hope it comes to a good close for everybody, really, because in general we don't want to see up to 215 bodies, that have been left in some clandestine grave or something. Anyway, I thought I'd bring it forward. I don't hear it out there on the news that much. The only group that I sort of hear it from is Rebel News, and they've been following it quite closely. If any of your listeners want to check in with that. Frances Widdowson, professor at Royal York, and she was dismissed from her work from raising such things. She was given the door.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, showing the door. Gotcha. Emerson in Calgary up next. Emerson. Hello, Emerson.
Hi, I just wanted to say, first of all, I think we're very lucky in Canada that we have somebody like you that provides a balanced approach and talk shows, and I want to thank you for that, and I hope you never lose sight of that, because that's what I have an admiration for. The reason I'm calling, Rob, is this situation in Arizona with this Savannah Guthrie's mother that's just suddenly disappeared.
Terrible.
Nobody knows. Yeah, it just seems like there's got to be I think the sheriffs actually do have somebody in mind, but they're waiting for them to drop the ball because they seem like, oh, we still believe she's alive, and I think they know she is. But I think this just doesn't add up how a person can disappear off the face of the earth. No surveillance, no nothing. Everything is broken. Her pacemaker connection to her phone was it just seems a little odd. There was some speculation online that perhaps the mother's involved in it. She's trying to get money out of the family to help another member of the family. That seems to be one theory. I find that if that turns out to be true, I would probably faint because she doesn't come across as somebody that would pull a stunt like that. But what do you think, Rob, that with all the resources that the police have?
Well, one of the things that I've been thinking about ever since this story first broke, Emerson, if you want to know what I think, is why her? Like, why her? Why would somebody take her 84-year-old mother who's kind of living in this, what looks to be like, I guess, what is it? Suburban Tucson, or on the outskirts of Tucson, I just, is it some, one of the things is it some kind of inside job? If they knew where everything was and how to, get this woman in there and get out of there and not be spotted. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems a little troubling, but at the end of the day, I hope to God that she is alive, and I hope that the sheriff is correct when he says we still believe she's out there and she's alive. But I think at the end of the day, I think they know who it is, and I think they're just waiting for the person to maybe make the wrong move so they can seal the deal. I can't believe that they can't connect the dots on this case. But before I let you go, I just want to say one thing. To all the police forces in Ontario that were involved in that corruption takedown yesterday, I still stand by all the cops because despite that, these are amazing individuals that put their lives on the line every day to protect our community. And despite that, there are a few bad apples, as Doug Ford says, in every organization. Cops are still supreme, and I'll stand by them. Thank you very much. I want to wish you.
Here's one of the things, Emerson, just on that point. Okay. So this is 7 sworn police officers and 1 retired police officer that are accused right now of all of this wrongdoing, links to organized crime and everything else. I would just like the listeners to keep in mind, to your point, there are 5,500 sworn officers in the Toronto Police Service. 5,500. They're not all bad apples, right? This is 7 of them.
I love them for standing up for me. I mean, as I always say, they're out there to take a bullet for me anytime to protect my life. I'm not going to throw them all under a bus because, like you say, 7, we don't know. Always presumption of innocence, of course. Always have to maintain that. But we don't know what really went on. Like you say, 7 out of 5,400 people. They must have had these guys under surveillance for a long time before you bring down an organization like that. They got to be pretty sure. But we'll see what happens. I want to wish you a beautiful weekend. You're always an amazing guy. You educate me on a daily basis.
Thank you, Emerson. Always so kind. Thank you for your kind words. Have a great weekend as well. What do we have there? 2, 3, 4, 5 lines available. Wherever you want to take it, we'll try and follow along. Everyone, we have some topics out there as well. People are robbing grocery stores and others are cheering them on. They're Robin Hood wannabes. It's just unbelievable. That story from Montreal, if you want to weigh in on that one as well. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday Free For All. Joy is up next. Claire's home. I believe it's how you say that in Alberta. Am I saying that right, Joy?
Claire's home.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi there. Good to hear from you. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I'm a first-time caller. I've been listening
What's on your mind?
to you I've been listening to you for months, and I want to thank you very much for giving me more stuff to think about. And
that's very kind of you.
I appreciate that.
All right.
before Christmas, you had a lady on the air who had been suffering from depression for over 15 years, and she couldn't find any kind of med that would touch it.
Yes, I remember that conversation.
Yeah. I have had a problem with depression for years, and my meds wouldn't touch it either. However, I finally switched to vitamin D. And pretty well everybody in Canada needs to be on vitamin D because we're so far north. And the winter sunshine is, well,
I would leave that advice to the doctors myself.
Yeah, well, this is a doctor that put me on the vitamin D in replacement of an antidepressant, and I'm 4,000 units in the summer and 5,000 units in the winter, which is what the pharmacist agrees with. However, apparently your body can tolerate up to 12,000 units a day, and since I've been on cancer pills now for over 2 years, the cancer pills, as a side effect, cause extra depression. So I'm 10,000 units in the summer and 11,000 units in the winter. And hey ho presto, no prescription drugs. And I just thought I would pass that forward to that lady who was struggling for over 15 years and suggest that to her. Now, you don't start with 15,000 at once. You
Sure. I'm always hesitant. I'm just, Joy, and I mean no disrespect at all. I'm just very hesitant when people start giving medical advice on the air. Okay, I would like it if everybody would just, go see their own doctor, if they have a doctor or any doctor or a nurse practitioner or whatever the case might be, whatever they can get right now these days. Because especially when it comes to depression, as you say, you can try half a dozen different meds. Maybe something works, maybe doesn't. Maybe you're trying even more than that. Cognitive behavioral therapy, all of these things, and nothing seems to work. So it can really, really take some time, but it seems to be tailored to the individual, because what will work for somebody might not necessarily work for somebody else. How are you feeling? Are you feeling better?
I feel fantastic. I
good.
do 3 hours
well, that's
of
good for you.
exercise a day. I'm sleeping well. I'm eating well. But that lady pulled my heartstrings, and I wanted to pass that forward because I have no idea of how to get a hold of her. So then
neither do I. Neither do I. And that was a pretty heavy-duty discussion that day. We were talking about MAID that day, so it was a pretty heavy-duty discussion. That's why I remember that, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your call. Thank you for your call. I am going to move along. I'm glad you're feeling better. Rick is in Dartmouth today. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Rob. Look, as great as your show is, you've missed one of the greatest stories of all time.
What's that?
Excuse me. How the NFL is teaching us about Roman numerals.
60.
If that doesn't top your list, there's no zero in Roman numerals. So already you're off to a great start. Anyway, I had a lot of time to think about that during the time I was on hold. I must also say, being in Nova Scotia, hearing the news from Calgary on the breaks, while you're waiting to get on, is fascinating. It's just a different world, in terms of the news from here and there. Anyway, it is Friday the free-for-all, so I don't mind rambling a little bit. But what did pique my interest was the caller with the hybrid and the apartment building. And as I was talking to Curtis there, I said, look, there's a lot of apartment buildings going up here. Looks like the average height, between 15 and 20 stories. And they are putting these apartment buildings, especially in Dartmouth, which traditionally is, plays second fiddle to the south end first and then the north end of Halifax as the place where people want to build apartment buildings. But they put the apartment buildings on the bus routes. That's what they talk about. So in terms of getting your electric vehicles, either hybrid or straight electric vehicles, charged, when you're talking about the building will, these buildings will probably, have a couple of hundred units or more, and if half of the people had a car, that would be like you'd need 100 charging stations, and the charging stations, I guess, would have to have some mechanism for charging you, no pun intended, for the cost of using the electricity. So it seems to me to be a problem that could easily be predicted in terms of the power supply for each particular car. Now, one other thing, the
very quickly.
Province. Oh, okay. The province had a potential brownout here. They said
yes. I mentioned that yesterday. I'm surprised nobody's picked up on that. There was a story in the New Brunswick paper, the Post Media paper in New Brunswick. You guys would have blackouts in Nova Scotia and in Prince Edward Island, like the electricity situation on the island is desperate. If not for New Brunswick, they bailed you out, was the story. They were running full tilt in New Brunswick, every generating station, full blast, so they could send electricity to Nova Scotia. That's what kept the lights on there. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
I think we have time to take Jason's call here. Jason's in Morinville, Alberta. Hi, Jason.
Hi, good day to you. So I kind of joined the show late today, and I don't know how much you delved into the topic, Rob, about Carney being so audacious as to steal $5,000 from Canadian taxpayers to hand to EV buyers. Just strange timing, since he just went to China and rigged all this. It's traitorous to the Canadian people who, for the most part, cannot drive a car, an EV with the climate that we have.
Well, traitorous, I mean, that's pretty strong language. These rebates are very popular with Canadians. They're very popular with Canadians. You understand that, right? They take the rebates away, the
Canadians,
the
but
sales
what's the West Coast mainly made up of, I guess, is where I was going. It's China. The only people that are really going to benefit are the majority, many hundreds of thousands, probably approaching 1 million Chinese in Vancouver alone. They're the ones, and so basically,
what are you talking about? I don't understand. I'm not even following your reasoning, sir. I don't understand what you're saying.
An electric vehicle is foolish. In the end times, the wise need oil, the Bible says, for example. It also says in the end times they're going to hand it all over to the dragon. So these are communist people who don't share common Christian values. They don't.
Okay. We're talking about EV rebates here, okay? EV rebates, really? The Book of Revelations? Are we serious? This is where the conversation is today, people? Goodness gracious. Let's stop here and bring you the latest breaking news. I'm Rob Snow. It is a free-for-all. Free-for-all. I said I'd try to follow along. Not that I'd be able to. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to a brand new hour of Talkback. It's the Friday free-for-all Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. We are wide open on topics. We will try to follow along. If you have something you want to raise, you can raise it here. 1-833-668-2577. Welcome to Adventures in Talk Radio. Let's go to Tim in Halifax today. Hello, Tim.
Hi, Rob.
Hey.
I'm going to... That Lisa Blackburn, I believe that was her name, the one that was talking about Halifax the other day in our bike lane.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get on, accidentally disconnected myself to the I was going to go on a tangent there. She is absolutely out of touch, and so is the city council. I drive downtown Halifax every day or every other day. There are barely any bikes. They keep making right-only red signs. They keep choking the flow of traffic, and they're trying to pretend it's something else. That's BS, total BS. The counselors, I can't remember if it was Sean Clear or Way Mason or which one, had been on the radio, the Todd Vino show, talking about how they're doing it intentionally. So they're intentionally slowing down the flow of traffic. The bike lanes have gone costing from $25 million to almost up to $100 million now. She is absolutely out of touch.
$100 million to build them, you mean?
Yes, you can Google
Really?
this. Look at just Google the cost of bike lanes in Halifax. I believe it started at $25 million. Now it's at like 193 or something like that.
Holy smokes!
Like they are absolutely out of touch, and she is like a politician. It's like the federal government. They don't give two poops about the average person. They're going to do what they want, and that's the end of it. Like my house value in the past 5 years has gone up $235,000. It's doubled in value. Like they're absolutely insane down here.
Okay.
Like
well, what does your house value have to do with bike lanes? I'm trying to follow along. Are you talking about for tax purposes, for assessment purposes? Do you mean?
Tax purposes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they're fluffing either they're fluffing the numbers or it's because they're bringing in too many people. It just goes back to they don't care about the average person.
Well, I guess what I wanted to get at with that line of questioning yesterday is what the heck is going on with traffic in Halifax? Because there was a report out you have the third worst traffic of any city in Canada now. I mean, it's not. It's a you're getting big city problems now, but like it's 550,000 people. You have in Halifax, right? About 550,000 these days. But you are having the same kind of traffic basically as Toronto and Vancouver. So how did that happen? Because you're not. You take Toronto. Toronto is. Toronto's bigger than Chicago now. Like Toronto's massive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you have the same kind of traffic problems that you're having in a place like Toronto?
Because they're choking off the flow of traffic. They took a major street, Hollis Street in Halifax. It was a 2-lane road all the way down, and they turned it into, it's still 2-lane technically, but people park on one side all day. So it's 1 lane. And then you put a bike lane in that's barely used, and then they try and stand behind the lie that, we've got the numbers or this or the numbers that. You know where those numbers are coming from? From electric scooters and bikes that businesses are piggybacking off of this. It's not
like food delivery apps and stuff like that.
No. I mean, you can literally go downtown Halifax and rent a scooter just to drive around.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Well, don't get me started about those darn scooters. What I wanted to get at as well with that, with the nature of that conversation is like, what's the plan? What do people want? What does the regional council want? The regional council seems fixated on bike lanes, bike lanes, bike lanes. We have to have bike lanes. I know the premier was adamant that some of these streets that you have been mentioning should not have bike lanes because they're impeding, as you say, the flow of traffic. But so what are your options? Are you willing to invest more in bus rapid transit? Do you want to go down the road of a multi-billion-dollar light rail system? Because I can tell you, living in Ottawa for 30 years, big, expensive project takes like decades and decades and billions of dollars. And even that doesn't assure a reliable form of transportation for people who want to use it. Do you build more roads? Do you make roads wider? What do you want to see?
One of these days, go on Google Maps and go downtown Hollis Street, Halifax. Look at the bike things they built. They look no better than a temporary structure. They're like, the parking concrete stoppers they have at parking lots.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
So they kind of look like that, and they're just bolted into the ground with rebar. Like they're not even permanent structures, and they're not getting maintained properly. And like I said, you start turning a bunch of streets that used to be able to turn right on red, and they don't even have a time of day. So like they're slowing it down. They've been kind of on it. I don't know if you probably don't know Todd Vino, but they've showed up to literal council meetings or like questionnaires with like bicycle helmets. They are pushing an agenda.
Oh, yeah. Well, that happens. That happens in every major city. Bicycle lobbies are very powerful at City Hall. My experience has been they get a very sympathetic hearing when they question people, because people who run generally for municipal councils, whether it's in your city or Toronto or Montreal, they're very left-wing progressive people. They don't like that people drive their cars to work. They think it's killing the planet. It's called the war on the car, and it sounds like it's in full battle mode right now in your city. Thank you for your call. You've got us off to a rip-roaring start here for hour number 2 of Talkback. Have to stop here, though. 1-833-668-2577. Bike lanes. Yeah, Premier Houston doesn't like them. Doug Ford can't stand them. And Premier Smith in Alberta is no big fan of bike lanes either. But city councils, they love those bike lanes. They really, really do. They'd love it if you got out of your car and took a bus or took a light rail train or rode your bicycle or got a piggyback to work, for that matter. Anything but drive. Goodness sakes. Think about Greta. 1-833-668-2577. That topic gets me whipped up. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Talkback on a Friday, so it's a free-for-all. Out to Calgary. Steve is there. Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Steve. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm a geologist, and I just think this global warming thing is a bit of a scam. Do you know you can go back a million years? Geologists can go back a million years using ice core data and deep sea sediment data, and we can record the temperature. We can record the CO2 levels. We can go back a million years. And guess what? CO2 levels were 5 times what they are today, and temperature didn't change. The reason is we have small, tiny amounts of CO2 in the air, and if it was a big thing like maybe Venus, it would change the temperature, but on Earth, it does not. So that's what I wanted to say. I think it's a huge scam, and
okay, if it's a huge scam, when everybody says it's a scam, it's a hoax. Stephen Harper once called it a money-sucking socialist scheme. I don't know if people remember that, but he did say that it's a money-sucking socialist scheme. Okay, you're saying it's a scam, right? Climate change, human-caused climate change is a scam. To what end? Like, what is the goal of the scam?
To stay in power. I think you need the, at the moment, liberal government to cure the problem. You know, vote for us. We'll lower CO2 levels. We'll build electric cars, whatever. To stay in power, that's the scam.
Okay. I read this a few weeks ago when we talked about how it was all over the news that it was last year was the 3rd hottest year on record. Do you remember that being in the news a few weeks ago? Last year was the 3rd hottest year on record. And I read this, and given your interest in the topic, I'm going to quote here from Reuters News Service. The long-established consensus among the world's scientists is that climate change is real, mostly caused by humans, and getting worse. Its main cause is greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, which trap heat in the atmosphere. Are you saying that's not true?
I don't think it's true, no.
You don't think it's true?
To quote Stephen Harper, I think you
think it's a money-sucking socialist scheme
that agree with their point of view. That's about it, and they don't agree. They certainly don't pick the people that don't agree with their point of view. I mean, this paper I've got in front of me is written by a PhD. For Christ's sake, he knows what he's talking about. I don't know who they pick, but it's usually people who I think really don't know what they're talking about.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you, Steve, for calling. 1-833-668-2577. A few lines available there. Zach is in Calgary today. Hi, Zach.
Hi, Rob. I was going to talk to you about something completely different, and then you brought up grocery theft. Well, first, people fundamentally misread the Robin Hood story. He didn't steal from the rich to give to the poor. He was taking back stolen taxes from a corrupt government who impoverished their own people. King John, I believe. Anyways.
All right.
Back in the day, I worked for Calgary Co-op. I originally was pumping gas, and then I moved into customer service at the grocery store. It's actually where I met my beautiful wife. She was a cashier. But as for thefts, when I worked there was about 15 to 20 guys across the city that did probably 95% of our chronic thefts in the store. And I think they added, from what I remember reading, it was like a 2.5% premium was added to groceries to compensate for theft. So take those 20 guys, throw the book at them, give them harsh jail sentences, and it'll not only eliminate majority of the thefts for Calgary Co-op, but it would seriously deter people from trying to make that a career.
Well, see, the reason I wanted to bring this up today is that right now, this is a Montreal thing, and this is a Montreal group, but it's very social media savvy. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know how things can get rolling when movements are social media savvy. When people are putting up videos of themselves on social media, and they have graphics and they have subtitles, and they're videoing themselves going in and they're ransacking these stores. They're filling up their bags, and then they're just walking out. They're just walking out. There's no consequence for any of these actions. Okay.
No.
And then the next thing you know, they put it on display outside of low income housing or subsidized housing. You know, here's all the food, that we stole from the greedy CEOs of the grocery stores. And they're encouraging people, join us in our movement. So I just wonder, okay, today it's Montreal. What are the chances that tomorrow there's the Calgary chapter of the Robin Hood wannabes who want to stick it to the man?
It probably wouldn't fly as well here in Calgary. And, it's ironic. No. They're stealing from the people that they're, quote unquote, giving the food to are probably, a lot of them work at grocery stores, and they're the ones taking the price tag that says $1.50 and putting a $2.50 price tag because the store is getting overrun with thefts, and the store is not going to lose money. They're going to factor it into their profits. So it's kind of, you're stealing from the wrong people.
Stealing from the wrong people. Okay, Zach, thank you. Every single phone line available right now. If you want to jump in on the Friday free-for-all talkback, pick a topic. We'll roll with it. Love to hear from you today at 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Lloyd, up next. The Friday free-for-all talkback. Hi, Lloyd.
Hello. Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Very good. When are you sending your weather to us? Can you please send your weather to us? Really like your Calgary weather, Lloyd. You do something about
I'll get that done right away. I'll put in a call and get it done for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, what's on your mind?
Well, the climate change thing, it's I've heard it talked about forever, but one thing that's always come to mind for me is they're always talking about the hottest year on record and stuff like that, and new record. It's hot. It's the hottest since it's been since, fill in the blanks, right? But these years that they talk about that it's the hottest since, it's always sometime like in, since 1880 or 1910. It's the hottest since then. And what always comes to mind for me is, okay, so let's talk about what was going on in 1880. Was it because of all the vehicles on the roads and, what was happening back then, which to me kind of snuffs out the argument of climate change. So I guess you could say I'm a non-believer. I mean, I believe, climate change.
Well, no, that's not the term we use. You are a denier. You are a denier.
Yeah. Call it what you want, but I think, we do impact climate change to a degree, but I don't think it's to a significant enough degree to be concerned with. I think it's a liberal thing. They need, you need a crisis to solve. You need a problem to solve, and I think that's where it's coming from.
Okay, let me just run some stuff by you. Okay. This was from a recent report about climate change, in keeping with, last year being the third hottest year on record, to your point. It outlines 5 ways climate change driven, I'm quoting here, driven by the burning of fossil fuels is reshaping life in Canada. I'll just give you the bullet points. 89,000 square kilometers of forest burned. Second worst wildfire season on record, behind only 2023. $9.2 billion in insurance losses, hail-damaged cars, flooded homes, downed power lines, people dying in heat waves. People died this year because of heat in Montreal, Toronto, declining sea ice, both poles, and higher food prices. Higher food prices, like a 28% increase in coffee prices for Canadians, all because of climate change. What do you say about that? No?
Well, there's other factors in play with the economic things like highest prices and stuff like that. But I mean, I think climate change has been happening, for a long, long time. And I think it has very little to do with the impact of people. That's just my belief. And I mean, people have always been dying in heat waves. And again, I just go back to what I was saying about it's the hottest since so-and-so year. What was happening back then? It was not because of, they're talking about times before there were vehicles on the road to the degree that we have long before that. So, what was happening back then?
I got you. Yeah, I understand and appreciate your opinion. It is not the first time I've heard that. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yep, we're in the home stretch now of the Friday Free for All Talkback. Right to Michael's call, please, in Calgary. Up next. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael. Yep, that's me.
Hello, Michael. That's you. Yeah, go ahead. What's on your mind?
Okay. Okay. So with regard to the climate change stuff, I'm not denying or anything like that. But the issue that I have is that they want everybody we change our lifestyles and stuff to live cleaner and reduce our carbon footprint and all that.
Sure.
And that's great. But the thing is, they ask us to sacrifice here. But people forget that we're sharing the same world, right? So just because you're not doing it in your own backyard doesn't mean somebody else is. So what do you do when you have China, India, and other companies like China has more coal mines than anywhere else on the planet, and their need is so much that they're buying off of us and everybody else, right? So if we're trying to be green and reduce our carbon footprint, what are we doing every single year? For the last decade or more, we sell more coal every year, because they can't get enough of anthracite coal. They can't get enough of metallurgical coal, right?
And where's a lot of that coal coming from?
Yeah.
And if I could just interrupt, where's a lot of that coal coming from?
Elk Valley, places like that.
British Columbia, right? British Columbia?
Yeah, mostly because most of Alberta's been wiped out as far as that's concerned. There's only one.
I mean, British Columbia.
coal mine.
If I could just finish my point. Like, there's British Columbia. There's David Eby, Can't have a pipeline. Can't have a pipeline. I'll sell you all the coal you need, but you can't have a pipeline. That has always driven me crazy.
Well,
it
that
just drives me crazy.
Me.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Because we're cleaning up our act here, right? And so those countries, so it's like, well, we have to share the same planet, and they're like, U.S. isn't entertaining it. India and China, they're just laughing at the idea of like, well, we're not going to do that because of the effects on the economy. I mean, Australia tried that, and they immediately they dropped it very quickly. because it was making their own people suffer. They're like, well, we can't make a living. Everything is more expensive. Example for the coal. There's only one place in Alberta now, out in Riley, that you can buy retail coal, and the guy's quitting this year, because they've wiped out the market. But it has such a huge effect on what we pay for things, chicken and things like that. Like, you think of all the things, like if you think of a Mennonite Hutterite colony, for years and years and years, they heated their barns and quonsets with coal. Now they can't do that because they can't buy it anywhere. And I'll tell you, like, the value of the coal, with anthracite coal, 1 ton equals 200,000 BTUs. So it's really hard to beat that efficiency, because that's a tremendous amount of energy released, right? And it's cheap, Yes. So for $30, you can heat a barn for 48 hours, right? And you can't do it any other way that cheap, So the result is that now our chicken is $30 a chicken, and anybody that has. Yeah,
I'm not buying whole chickens for $30. They're up there in price, but they're not $30. I mean, let's get real.
No, seriously. Like where we are, they are.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't.
And the difference, but
must
the
be big
difference
chickens.
being is yeah. But the difference being, if you get chicken from the U.S., you look at Walmart. The reason why they can put a chicken that's already cooked for $17 or $20. The reason why they can do that is because they're not on board with any of this, right? So we're not.
Well, yeah, and they don't have supply. They don't have supply managed agriculture as well, although they do heavily subsidize their farmers. Look, I'm going to jump here, but I will say, I think there's a recognition right now in Ottawa that under the previous government, things were way out of hand on the climate file. I think Trump has served as a wake-up call. And I think things are starting to return to balance, because there was a feeling in many parts of the country, especially yours, that environmental policy had become the most important policy, and really became, for the previous government, the be-all and the end-all. And that, to your point, it came at great expense to economic growth, economic opportunity, good jobs, wealth for the country, and just our general economic well-being. And it's also the idea that Mr. Trudeau couldn't get anything done. Now, yes, they bought a pipeline, but we all know that was basically a nationalization, and that the private sector developer of that pipeline waved the white flag and gave up because it just couldn't deal with doing business in Canada. And that was simply a repeat of what happened to Energy East with TransCanada at the time. I mean, it's not like TransCanada didn't try to move that Energy East project forward. It spent years trying to do that, and $1 billion of shareholder money. And there just came a time when reality had to set in, and they waved the white flag and said, we give up. The government is just not on our side. And the same thing happened with a mega LNG project in the province of Quebec, which was backed in part by Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, Energy Saguenay. Tried for years to advance that project, but it had no friends in Ottawa. So it was largely a non-starter. I think that there's a feeling now that with the current prime minister, the country's headed in a different direction. That's my sense of things right now. Now, yeah, there has to be some give and take, and that's why an announcement like this was made yesterday about EVs, because it's still the Liberal Party, and you still have to placate the environmental wing of that party. I'm Rob Snow. This is Talkback. It's News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, Friday Free for All Talkback. Up next is Glenn in Calgary. Hi, Glenn. You're on the line.
Hello.
Hi, Glenn. What do you want to talk
I'm here.
about?
Well,
you're
I've
here.
got two things.
All right.
One of the things is the person that was talking about the climate change. Nobody stops to realize that this planet goes through great swings in temperatures. That's why we've had several, not just one, but several ice ages, and we're just coming out of one. So the temperature is going up. We are making it worse, but not that much. We do need to do better. Okay. And on the grocery situation, stealing groceries. Groceries only mark up their wholesale price by 200%. Stores that sell clothing and so on mark it up by 300 to 400%. So why are you going after the grocery stores? Yes, it's the one we notice, but every time you buy a pair of pants, you're paying 4 times as much as the store is paying.
Right. You're saying if people are being gouged, you're actually being gouged at other retailers worse than you're being gouged at the grocery store, is your point.
Yes, there's enough competition in the grocery stores. I mean, there are things like, I'll quote this one, sausages in Real Canadian Superstore, no name brand. Their actual size of the sausages have gone down over the last couple of years by about 25%, and their price has gone from $8.95 to occasionally $11. But they'll leave it at $11 for about a week, and they'll drop it back to $9.95 or $8.95 as a big special. We're basically still paying about $9.95 overall, but the way they're doing it is robbing people when they have it high instead of giving a constant price.
I guess my point is my point for introducing that topic today was, what do you think of these people who are going in? They really do think they're doing noble work, that they're kind of sticking it to the man. They're getting one over on a big greedy corporation when they go in there. And I mean, these are big mobs in Montreal that are doing this. The last one was 60 people went into this grocery store and just went from one shelf to the other, filling bags and walking out, like no consequence at all. And on social media, Glenn, people are cheering them on and saying, go for it. Yeah.
People that cheer them on are nuts.
Yeah. They're nuts. Okay. All right, Glenn, thank you. Let's go to Cambridge now. Jason is there. Hi, Jason.
What?
Hi, Jason.
Which is Tesla? Is that just down here?
Yoo-hoo, Jason.
Oh, that's.
I think Jason forgot that he called a radio show. Let's move along to. Let's go to Guy. Is in Calgary today. Hi, Guy. Jeepers creepers, people, come on, play nice. Back to Cambridge. Let's try Jeff in Cambridge. Hi, Jeff.
How's it going?
All the better for hearing from you, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What's on your mind?
How are you with the fusion energy?
Don't know anything about it.
Yeah, neither
is that like
did
a
I
flux
until last summer.
capacitor? Is that the flux capacitor, like in the DeLorean?
Yeah, using magnetism, which is what the whole deal was. It would have been out long ago, but they couldn't get past the point where what energy they put in was less coming out until a company from British Columbia made the breakthrough where the energy going in was less than the energy coming out through magnetism. And I heard this guy speak on the radio last summer. He talked about his company, and he said that 25 other companies were trying to do the same thing. And this has been going on for years and years, trying to break the in low and trying to break it so that more energy is coming out. So what happened was, now we don't have it. It went to the United States.
Okay. I don't know. Are people buying Fusion cars in the United States?
No.
The only Fusion car I know is a Ford Fusion.
This is technology that we've missed. There was no headlines. In 2022, California had a breakthrough, which came out even. The amount of energy going in was the same amount going out. And that was headlines. For some reason, Canadian makes a breakthrough, and it could be world changing. Well, more than likely in 50 years, everything will be fusion. Everything.
Are
Within
you
10
saying
years,
you're talking about fusion reactors?
yeah.
Like nuclear fusion?
Fission
in a car?
is nuclear, as in they take one particle out. Fusion is they try and put one particle in, which creates the energy. It's clean. There's no nothing, and it'll never run out as long as you've got seawater, salt water. So it'll never ever run out. It's the energy of the future, and for some reason, our government, because they had awards given to them throughout 2022, 23.
All right.
And we didn't jump on it. We lost it to the United States.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we've lost it to the United States, it's not like anybody's going to their local Toyota dealership in the United States and buying a Fusion car. Right? Okay. We'll stop here. Be right back. More of your calls. Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yes, it sure is. Talkback Friday, free for all Talkback. Let's go back to Cambridge and speak with Danny. I think Danny might get the last word today. Hi, Danny.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you're welcome, Danny.
I just want to build off of the retail theft conversation you were having earlier.
Sure.
I just have to ask my fellow Canadians, like, how did we get here? Like, auto thefts are through the roof. You have retail theft. The other day, I believe in Guelph, the police came out and warned us about a violent offender who was being released, who has a high risk to reoffend. Like, how did we get here as a population? And a lot of the people are going to say, oh, you have to vote in a conservative prime minister. And I'm 36 years old, but I believe when Stephen Harper put in mandatory minimums for using a gun during a crime, that our Supreme Court struck that down. So that's
right.
not going to get it fixed.
Yep. Cruel and that was deemed to be cruel and unusual punishment at the time.
And yes,
by the Supreme Court
I'm
of
just
Canada.
wondering, how do we fix what is happening to our society? Like, I would believe if we had a referendum and you said, should a sex offender be released from prison? I would believe the majority of Canadians would say absolutely not. So how are we here today? Like, how did we get here?
Well, I think you've answered your own question.
How's that?
Well, we're here because we have soft on crime policies and bleeding heart judges.
But if say the prime minister switches those laws and the Supreme Court strikes them down, what are we to do? Like,
well,
I have no other idea.
I'll tell you what you do. I'll tell you what you do. You want the answer to that question. And this Pierre Poilievre said this is what he would do in the case of bringing back, say, mandatory minimums for certain sentences. All right?
Yep.
These are struck down on charter grounds. Cruel and unusual punishment, for example. Well, if it's struck down on charter grounds, well, that brings the notwithstanding clause into play. Remember, in this country, you would have to implement that. You would invoke what is known as the notwithstanding clause. And the notwithstanding clause says Parliament is supreme. We don't elect judges. Judges are not accountable to anybody. We elect governments. We send people to parliaments, right? You send Doug Ford to Queen's Park along with his MPPs, and you send MPs to Ottawa. They're the most accountable to you. And if there's going to be a price to pay for enacting a controversial law, well, then it's not up to the judges. It's up to the parliamentarians of the country to face the consequences for a controversial law. So something like that, you would say, well, notwithstanding that the Supreme Court of Canada says locking up a sex offender, like a child pornographer, for example, for 5 years as a mandatory sentence, notwithstanding what the Supreme Court says, we're responsible. And we're going to invoke a law that does impose a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years. Now, that has a sunset clause on it, so it would have to be renewed. I believe it's every 5 years. It's not, infinite, that law would stay on the books forever. It would have to be reviewed, and maybe it would be by a new government. It would be eliminated. Maybe the same government keeps it going. But that power rests with Parliament. It is Parliament that is supreme, even more supreme than the Supreme Court. I'm Rob Snow. Thank you for your call. Thank you for all your calls all week. It's been very interesting. Very busy news week. Lots of news ahead. Day's not done yet. The latest breaking news is coming up next. This is News Radio.